Well, hello there, Sophy King. It's wonderful to have you on the Red Couch Talk today.
It's very wonderful to be here. Thank you.
And I'm not sure about you and your place in the world, but here it's starting to get really cold. Um, we can feel the fall already.
Yes, yeah,
Mornings and nights, it gets kind of cold again.
yes, here too. And it's been raining all the time. In fact, it's been raining through my actual ceiling of my house. So, you know,
And
yeah, it's
I
problem.
saw on LinkedIn that you've just been to Barcelona.
Yes,
So what was
and
that
it was
about?
really sunny. It was really sunny and really warm, and very lovely to be there for a couple of days in some nice
Wonderful.
weather as a reprieve.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sophie, why don't you start us off with a little fun fact about you? Something people might not know when they follow you on the internet.
Um, well, something people might not know about me is that this is very random. So as when I was growing up, I never did any exercise at all. And then during COVID, I accidentally signed up for online exercise classes 5 days a week because I knew two women who were running their own exercise groups and they were so worried about going out of business that I felt like I must support them as another female entrepreneur. So I ended up signing to do squat jumps in my back garden on Zoom calls every single morning, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., and became quite into exercise and now voluntarily go to exercise classes. And I even started running entirely
Wow.
as a result of trying to support other female entrepreneurs. Silver lining. Yeah.
That's so great. I mean, I like, both. I like the fact that you wanted to support other
Yeah.
female entrepreneurs, but also that, it got you into shape and that, you feel
Yeah.
healthy and fit.
Yeah, and the amazing discovery in my 40s, as basically part of this, is that you don't have to, which is so obvious to anybody with any sense, but was not obvious to me, is that you don't have to be good at something to enjoy doing it. It turns out that it's allowed and is all right to go for a run, even if you're rubbish at running, or to try and do press ups or whatever it is. Turns out it's okay. You don't have to be good at it. So I was like, oh my gosh, then the whole. Suddenly opens up. You can do anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and one of the things I often tell my clients and myself is, we sometimes think of exercise as, like running 10K, etc.
yeah, you don't have
But
to.
but
Yeah,
even I also I work still a lot from home. Even
yeah,
just taking the bottles to the recycling and walking
yeah,
instead of,
yeah,
taking a train or going by car, that's
exactly.
also exercise and it's good
It
for you and
100%
it's
is.
good for your
Yeah,
brain too.
yeah, yeah. Just change your scenery. Exactly. Move in a different way. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Sophie, what I understood from the times that we have been interacting, seeing each
Mm.
other on LinkedIn and on groups, on common groups, is that you're an immigration expert. I would call you a guru, probably. And what I'm not 100% clear about is you run your own immigration firm, but do you mainly focus on inbound UK or are you working across the globe? What's your
Across the
setup?
globe, across
Yeah.
the globe, and it's actually not my firm anymore. So I did have my own
Uh-huh.
firm.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I've always worked in immigration, but I'm not a lawyer. So that's the weird
Uh-huh.
thing about me is
Okay.
that I've always worked in
Yeah.
immigration, but I'm not a lawyer. And so everyone's like, "But surely you're a lawyer." I'm like, "No, no, no, no." So I work in immigration because I studied languages and lived in other countries. And when I came back to the UK, aged 20 something, I was looking for a job and I signed up with a Japanese language recruitment agency because I could speak Japanese. And it happened that an immigration company at the time was recruiting for global consultants or case managers, basically the person who organizes the things to come from the client to the real immigration expert. Because I'm not really a real immigration expert. The real lawyers and the people who are doing the actual stuff. That was what my job was, age 25 or whatever. And they recruited me because I could speak different languages and they'd got used to using this Japanese agency because they sent them relatively well organized and clean and tidy CVs and that type of stuff. So I worked for them for a long time. Then I set up my own company, which I later sold. Then I worked for the people I sold it to for about 5 years. Then I set up another company of my own. And then I ended up leaving that because one of my big clients was Envoy Global and they really wanted me to come and join them permanently and not just as a consultant. And they were so nice that I accepted. So,
Oh,
yeah.
so they hired you basically as the president.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like the longest interview process in the world because I resisted for about a year.
Huh?
Yeah.
And why did you get into this? I mean, I get it a little bit from what you said already. You know, you
Yeah.
like languages, you've been around the world, you traveled. Similar
Yeah.
motivation here, yeah.
Exactly.
To end up in global
Basically,
mobility, yeah.
yeah, I'm interested in other people. I think all of us are interested in other people. And I
Yeah.
always, my whole life, I mean, I never traveled as a child. We couldn't afford it. We never went. We used to go to France
Yeah.
camping in, just across the channel, but we never went, and I went to Germany once on a school trip as well, but we never really went anywhere. But my friends, I grew up in London, and so my friends were from all over the world. My closest friends were, none of them were just straightforward, 100% English people. I always felt very boring in comparison. And then as soon as I could do anything, I, went off to different countries and tried to understand them and understand other people. So that's why I got into the job, basically because of the languages. They tried to recruit me, and I nearly didn't even go to the interview because the job in question was in Chiswick in West London, and I grew up in Ealing in West London. And at that time, I was in my 20s and living in South London near
Uh-huh.
Brixton. And
Uh-huh.
I thought I was quite cool for living in South London. And I was like, oh, I don't want a job in West London. I'm going to bump into my friends' parents all the time. I don't want to do that. But I went to the interview and absolutely loved them. And thought, oh my gosh, I really do want this job. I should have tried harder. And so I fell into it. So many of us fall into it, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
seems to be a theme across the Red Couch Talks. It's like
Such a
hardly
thing.
anyone ever says, "Ah, this is what I wanted to do for
I
all
know.
of my life."
I
Yeah.
know. My colleague Mandy, who is our director in the Netherlands, she's an
Uh-huh.
amazing, amazing person. She said it. We were talking about it the other day, and she just was like, "Yes, surprise! You're on immigration, surprise!" And it is like that. You wake up one day and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is now the thing that I do."
Uh,
You know.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, I have to tell you, I mean, I've been, like more like of a generalist all the time when I was working
yeah,
in HR in global
yeah,
mobility. But I always was very fascinated with global mobility,
yeah,
immigration. I always
yeah,
liked immigration. I'm not
yeah.
very fond of tax.
No, no.
Social
I mean,
security,
no offense,
okay,
but
yeah, but
yeah,
from
yeah,
the like legal areas,
yeah,
immigration was always my favorite. And when I started Global People Transitions, I actually had also offered immigration
yeah,
into
yeah,
Switzerland because here you don't need
yeah.
to be a lawyer. You can, you
No,
can do this as an HR
exactly.
professional too.
Yeah,
But somehow it is didn't fly at the time.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now,
That's
I'm
interesting.
so
Yeah,
focusing, I'm focusing more on coaching
yeah,
and training.
yeah, yeah.
But I still think it's a very interesting area. And it's also a bit of a hot potato at
Yes,
the
it's
moment.
it's very interesting because it is. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit biased, and I have been doing it for so long that I have nothing else to be interested in. So obviously, I think it's interesting. It has taken over all of the other things, but I think it's really interesting because it is a sort of nexus between very analytical and paper based. You have to be very careful. You have to write carefully. You have to fill in your forms properly. Like you can be very, very kind of introverted almost. And
Yeah.
it all also is about humans. Obviously, it's about
Yeah.
people's lives and people trying to do something different and taking a massive risk and a massive plunge to move. And if you don't get the immigration side of things right, they have no choice. They can't move their families and their stuff and enroll in their schools and do all of their things if they haven't got the. So it is hugely important to the individual. And then obviously the other side of it is, yeah, immigration. If you say to the hairdresser or the doctor or anything, they say, "What do you do?" And you say immigration, you get one of two responses. Either like, "Oh, wonderful, you're helping people who deserve to be helped," or they say, "Oh, you're letting them all in." And the truth is, when you work in corporate immigration, actually you don't have much to do with either refugees
Yeah.
or asylum seekers or anybody like that. But the massive variation. I had a friend who is a great immigration lawyer, and he said, "Sophie, I just tell them I'm a tax lawyer, and then they never ask me questions at all." I was like, probably better.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. That's a,
yeah, because it's controversial, and there
yeah.
is so much misleading and inaccurate, and I don't know, deliberately misleading, but definitely misleading and definitely inaccurate representation in the media, certainly in this country, but I think in many countries. And yeah, it's pretty sad and pretty shocking. And I think if people knew, and people who are, when you have all of this public discourse, like, oh, there's 2 million, I think if the majority of people actually knew the real facts, they would not be so anxious and worried about it. So I don't blame people who feel that way, but I do blame our media for not being clear enough about the actual truth of what migrants do for our economies. And, even kind of cultural and innovation and creativity to one side, just the bare facts of what migrants do to benefit the economy, like black and white in pounds, euros, or dollars, is very clear, and it's not spoken about enough. So that's
And now I also remember why I wanted to have you on the Red Couch Talk, because you are one of the people who actually talk data. You
Yeah,
posted something on
you have to.
LinkedIn,
Yeah.
maybe I think 3 months ago, and it was actual data on, immigration figures, why immigration is important, why we need immigrants in countries like the UK and Switzerland. We are depending on the workforce.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember that was really, really, helpful because, it's just missing.
Exactly. It's
The
missing.
debate on the
Yeah.
real data is often missing.
Yeah, it's often missing, and it's available. So the fact that it's missing, I think, is fairly inexcusable, actually. Like, it is available, it's publicly available, it's free, it's easy to find. So just read it and stop
Yeah.
opinions.
Yeah. 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 And one of my challenges, just FYI at the moment, is to define, the terminology for a book, for example.
Yeah.
And I have one expression that I sometimes use. It's a lifestyle expat.
Yeah.
Because, technically, from a global mobility perspective, they're not expatriates. They're not going back.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
often,
Yeah.
they're highly skilled. They
Yeah.
come to the country, they come to Switzerland, to the
Yeah.
UK, but
Yeah.
they usually come with a work contract or
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
related.
Yeah.
So, and because of the media and the negative
Yeah.
connotations of the term migrant, I'm
Yeah.
trying to find something else. A lot of people identify with
Yeah.
expats,
Yeah.
the word
Yeah.
expat, but
Yeah.
in Switzerland, funnily, it
Yeah.
almost now has a negative connotation as well.
Oh, so you have to
Yeah.
have you'll have to have a whole new word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
this is, I need to find the right word
Overseas
because
expert. Yeah, you have to have something.
everybody has a different association with the word, which is
That's the
interesting to
thing.
me.
Words become very powerful. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, in the grand scheme of things, of
Mm.
expatriation and immigration and, the corporate world and the highly skilled people that we deal with,
Mm.
what is your take on this topic? How would you maybe describe it to somebody who's thinking about moving into this field? You've also been an entrepreneur, Sophie. What would you advise somebody who's interested in our field, who's a bit younger?
So, somebody who wants to come into the field as a career, I would say
Yeah.
it would be an amazing career for somebody. I think if you're interested in other people and you're interested in other countries and you're interested in how the world works, what could be, so I've been talking to my son, my oldest son is 17. So he's thinking about university at the moment, and he wants to study chemistry, which
Hmm.
to me is a miracle because I was terrible at chemistry at school. You know, he also loved maths, and I was also terrible at maths. I am not. I was never a scientist in that way. And I said, "Why are you so interested in chemistry?" And he said, "Because you understand how the world works. This is how the world is made. Like, these are the atoms
Yeah.
of which everything that we see and touch and feel and experience are created." And I thought, wow. And then I said, but isn't all of everything that we all do about how isn't art and reading and music and everything? And he said, yeah, that's also true. And I think what we do as global mobility experts, we are trying to understand the connections from one country to another country. So whether you do that through, languages or cultural training or immigration or tax or anything, if you have the opportunity to speak to people and see things from somebody else's point of view every day of your life, like, I cannot think of anything more wonderful than that, really,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're bridge builders.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is something
Exactly.
I think, especially now in these very polarized times, is
Yeah.
extremely important. Extremely.
Yeah, it's very important. And the other thing as well in the immigration field, and I'm sure that people in the other parts of our industry would say the same for them, but again, I only know about my little corner, is that the amount of knowledge and experience that my colleagues, and when I say colleagues, I mean the people who work at Envoy Global, but I also mean the industry at large, the lawyers and the experts that we work with all over the world, the amount of knowledge they have about their different countries and their different kind of specialist areas is just mind-boggling. So it's an incredible privilege to be in a room. You can go to a room, you can go to a conference with 100 people in it, wherever. You can be in this room of 100 people and just, you think if you wrote down what they all knew, it would fill a library, what they knew just about this one subject. And that's amazing to know these people and to be able to call them up and say, hey, can you tell me about, this little small, and they'll just know the answer. I mean, that is amazing to work with people who have learned so much and are willing to share it, So special, I think it's very special that they're everywhere in the world. I often say, and it's true, I think I could go to 150 countries and I would know somebody. And if I had a problem, if I lost my phone or couldn't, I would, well, if I lost my phone, I guess I wouldn't be able to call them. But I think I would be able to, if I had some problem, they would always be somebody I could get in touch with and say, please help. And I think they would, so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So these are two topics now that I need to break down from what you said. The first one is the curriculum for people who want to learn about a field. Do you think there's anything that we need to maybe stress more, teach more? Do you think there are misconceptions that people, should learn more about?
I worry in the UK about people not learning languages anymore. It is a blessing and a curse to speak the language that has become the sort of lingua franca. It's amazing. I mean, people want English teachers all over the world. So when you're a student, you can travel and earn money easily. It's easy to work. It's easy to be the person who can understand the fastest in the room just because everybody's speaking your mother tongue. I'm grateful that English is my mother tongue, but also increasingly we don't bother to learn anybody else's languages, and I think that will get worse with AI as well. I mean, you can't get a job as an interpreter or a translator so easily these days, even now, let alone 20 years from now. But I think what people will lose from learning how somebody else thinks or how another country speaks about things, not just how do you order a pizza or how do you, I don't know, buy a car or whatever, but how do you actually think and communicate, and what do you care about? These are the things you learn when you learn a language. So I worry about that. I think we need to make sure we're teaching people, even if we're not teaching them. How can you teach that if you don't teach the actual grammar? I think you've got to, the facts, I do care about the facts and you've got to learn the building blocks of it. So I don't know if this is the right answer. I don't know if I answered the right question, but I do care about it.
I think you're touching on something really important. And that I'm also concerned about, that with technology that we have right now, I think we're losing a lot of really good base learning. Writing, thinking through a problem, analyzing a problem, finding the right data for the problem. And then the next step, also, yes, translating. I mean, it's very convenient if I can ask ChatGPT to translate an immigration proposal. That's very convenient. But still, somebody would have gone through the proposal and made the statement and gathered the facts, etc.
And why did they think about it the way that they thought about it? Because the work that I do now does not really involve me speaking the languages that I've tried to learn to different people, with the result that my language skills are getting worse and worse and worse. But it does involve trying to understand the other person's point of view, which I think is much easier to do if you have put yourself in their shoes and been the person who's learning the language. It matters. It matters. You can't just jump into that.
I mean, I often notice that someone who has lived in another country, moved and transitioned from one culture to another, has a different sort of understanding of the problems, for example, of highly skilled workers moving into Switzerland, and someone who has never done that.
Because they understand it much better.
It's almost like you're wearing blindfolds.
Exactly, exactly. And it's very disorienting to move to another country and not know what's going on. When I was in my 20s and I first became a manager, and I used to hire, uh, you know, junior sort of trainee immigration consultants and case managers, I always only hired people who had A, lived in another country for
Hmm.
at least some small amount of time, and who B, had had at least one rubbish job, like a waitress or I don't know, like cleaning up or working in a kitchen or something like that. Because I think you have to have people who have experienced what it's like to be the person who's confused and disorientated. And, like you want somebody who has, if you can have empathetic, nice, kind, good people, but if they've not actually experienced what it's like to be in that situation, it's very hard for them to really put themselves in the other person's shoe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just reminded of a job I had when I was an au pair in the UK. My
I was an
first
au pair in Vienna.
my first foreign experience, like when I really
Yeah.
moved abroad, was as an au pair when I
Oh,
was 19.
yes.
And then,
Yeah.
I didn't make enough money. And then
Yeah.
the local pub had a sign out and they were asking for somebody who could work on Sundays.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I worked in the pub on
Amazing.
Sundays. It was such a great experience.
Yeah.
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 And it really
I
helped
was
me
an
also to connect and, to get a
That's
deeper
the thing.
insight into the
That's the thing.
culture.
And just to be quick, I worked in a pub when I was about 18, and I
Yeah.
didn't even know how to, I don't think I knew how to open the bottles of beer. I was giving people bottles of beer and not taking the lids off. People were like, what are you doing? And I definitely didn't know how to pull a proper pint. But eventually, like very quickly,
Uh-huh.
you learn it. And I was an au pair in Vienna just for a summer when I was 17, I think.
Uh-huh.
And I had no idea what I was doing. And then the family went away on holiday for the last week and left me, and I didn't have any money. I couldn't afford any food. I got home and I was as thin as a stick. My mother was like, "What has happened to you?" But it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think, that these experiences, they shape you basically.
Yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
do. And you
Yeah.
take a bit of responsibility. And that's the other thing. I mean, this is such an old woman thing to say, but the things that we did, that you did, and that I did, the things that we all did when we were 17, 18, and our parents had no idea. And now I'm like, oh, is he back from the shop yet? So yeah, yeah, different world.
I wanna quickly go back to one other thing you said, which was really beautiful. Like if you ever had a problem in a country, like you
It's
lost your internet or
amazing.
your phone,
Yeah,
that you would have a friend anywhere that
yeah,
you could just
yeah,
reach out to. Um, I- I'm a big fan of building relationships and networking, and
yeah,
I told you earlier when we were just preparing that, I like to also
yeah,
meet people in person that I know
yeah,
through WhatsApp groups and online
yeah.
forums. Um, what is your preferred way of networking?
Oh, and the thing is, I I try so hard to not be like this, but I can't help it. I have 3 children,
Yeah.
and so I feel unbelievably guilty when I travel away from them. But then I also feel unbelievably guilty if I don't go and see my colleagues and my friends. And also, I love seeing my colleagues. So, short answer, in person is irreplaceable. You have to
Yeah.
see people in person
Yeah.
and have those conversations and chats that you otherwise, you cannot divide your life work-wise into 30-minute increments where you speak to people for exactly 30/60/90 minutes. You have to be talking to them while you're queuing for a coffee, or while you're washing your hands, or just have an idea that you otherwise wouldn't have, and pay somebody some attention and properly listen to them. All of that stuff is the most important thing in the world.
Mm.
But it's also really hard to be away from home, too much. So yeah, I have a very mixed feelings about it all. Yeah,
I like it that you're saying also, like in person is still most important.
yeah,
Because I'm also, making an effort now to go to attend various conferences.
yeah,
And
yeah,
uh, 2 years ago, yeah, one of the RTP colleagues said to
yeah,
me, "Why don't you come to Lille? We have the theater
yeah,
conference there." And I was like,
yeah.
"But I'm not a speaker. Can I go just to
Can I
have
just go as a person?
just have fun?" She's like,
Yeah,
"Sure, we all do that." And I thought,
yeah,
wow, that would be such a great idea. So,
yeah,
and I had such a good time
yeah.
and met
It's
all
quite nice
these
when you're not speaking.
people,
Yeah,
especially, after
yeah,
the long Corona time where we really
yeah,
from home. And so now I'm making a bit more of an effort to go to
yeah,
conferences,
yeah,
just to be
yeah.
there,
Just
even
to
if
be
I
there
don't.
because you have ideas, like even in Barcelona. So I went to Barcelona this week to see my colleagues in Spain, and also because there was an event that we wanted to go to, and also we were seeing some clients.
Mhm.
And actually, a couple of the client meetings, I thought I just invited myself. Christina and Leonor were doing these meetings anyway, and I was like, oh, I'll come too. And then I thought maybe I'm just going to be in the way, and they want to kind of get on with their lives without me. But actually, I hope they agree. It was so interesting and
Uh-huh.
exciting to meet these clients, and also we had some ideas together, like they were saying, oh, we wish that somebody could help us with this, with that. There's another thing that we and so Christina and Leonor and I were thinking, oh, well, we could do it like this, we could do it like that. And I don't think we ever would have had those thoughts or ideas or suggestions if we had just been having a call. I mean, we might have done, but there is a different energy when you're together in a
Absolutely.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we also have to get together.
Yes, please.
Any
Yeah.
chance you find any excuse to come to Zurich? Because I'm still looking for the excuse to come to London.
Well, maybe I'll cook something up. Yeah.
We have good cheese here. I can maybe tempt you with a cheese fondue.
Yeah,
We have a
yes,
wonderful Christmas time in
that
Zurich.
would be quite nice. Ich
Yeah.
kann mein Deutsch
And
üben, ein
and
bisschen.
we have the film festival coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah,
Yeah.
but if you
Yeah.
if you're ever around, let me know. And
I
if I
will.
come to the
100%. Yeah.
UK, I will also let you know.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Is there anything that you have coming up, like a cool event or something you want to tell our listeners about?
Well, we have lots of things. So our team are around, we go to all of these different events. So we'll be at the Ayla Paradigm thing in Krakow in February. We're organising some breakfast events in London and possibly around Europe as well. We go to the Anglo-French Chamber of Commerce events very regularly. So if anybody's at those, they should come and say hi to my colleague Alistair, who's usually there. Uh, the big event that I organise once a year is the Immigration Day. That's the day before Euro starts, or the Monday of the week of Euro. So this year it will be the 27th of April in Malta.
Ah, okay.
And I love it because it is a free to attend event, but we encourage people to make a donation to charity to cover what would have been the costs. So it's excellent from that point of view. And it is a day for immigration professionals, whether they're lawyers or not lawyers, to get together, learn from each other, support each other, make connections, and then for the whole of the rest of the Euro conference, they'll be able to spot each other in the crowd. That's the idea, that get the
Ah,
immigration people in one room. So that will be the 27th of April in Valletta. We've not opened registration yet. We will do that at some point. But in the meantime, if people are interested, I would be really interested to hear from people who want to come or who want to speak. It's really good to have new people speak. I don't always want it to be the same panel. Yeah, so if anybody wants to come or speak or have ideas for that, then please let me know. We usually have a theme, so we
uh-huh.
have a theme that's connected to the country. So this year, this is a kind of, haven't told anybody this, but this year I'm thinking Malta is the home of the Knights of St. John, who formed St.
Yeah,
John's Ambulance. The
yeah.
pilgrims were always coming through Malta, which is so connected to the world of immigration. So I
Yeah.
was thinking to have a theme around immigration as a support and caring, like how do you look after one another and also, you know, follow our trade and our industry, like how do we make a living, but also remember that really where this all began was looking after each other as humans. So that's what I'm thinking very vaguely, but I would be interested to know what other people think,
I
and I
love
hope
that.
it's
I
a good,
love that theme.
yeah.
And maybe you can have like a Maltese Nights party with
Yeah, and I could
sausages,
dress up with like a big,
with
no, maybe not.
armor. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Sophie, it was great to meet you.
Thank you,
I'm
Angie.
so glad we
Yeah.
did this, and
Yes, me too.
I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll catch up with each other in person in 2026.
Yes, please, it has to be a
Definitely
promise.
on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, all right,
Have
thanks,
a
it
good
was
one.
a real
Bye.
pleasure. Take care. Bye.